Hello everyone, this is SillyMickel Adzema. This is reading of the 12th Prasad. Back up a bit, in the 11th Prasad, which the term the Agrarian Revolution was dealing with that. They were saying, in terms of the well-being of yourselves and all of life of on this planet, the worst development of all occurred when you began to grow your own food. The Agrarian Revolution developed out of the same forces that caused you to begin hunting, which have to do with your unnatural fear of scarcity of resources and lack of faith in the divine providence to meet your needs even better than you can alone. The controlling of your earth-rooted food sources, horticulture, grew out of your impatience with the divine harmony and plan and your desire to control. What we would say is interfering. Controlled nature's perfect ways, even so far as the Flora Empire. This development took hold of increasing numbers of you beginning 25,000 years ago. You began determining the life cycles of some of the earth-rooted beings of this planet, and you continued your godlike determination of life and death of other beings, as well as the who, what, where, when, and how of their existences. You currently are recording this development as an agrarian revolution. The 12th Prasad reads as follows, as received from the Planetmates. Incidentally, it was not long after this conquering of the Flora Empire that you began to extend your control over some Planetmates in exactly the same way. You captured, enslaved, and set their life cycles to fit yours. The who, what, when, where, and how of their lives were plucked from nature's perfect blueprint and set to your ends. The ends driven by your fear, obsession to control, and crazed, backwards, and overstimulated brains, born of early trauma. No longer content merely to hunt Planetmates who were living their divinely ordained lives in the perfection of nature, you corralled and kept them for any number of ends that you would choose, including, usually, their being killed and eaten without having to hunt them first. However, your control of both flora and fauna in this way required the most drastic change in your way of life, one that would be the sole root of the apocalypse that we see looming before us all. For horticulture and to some extent herding of Planetmates required the end of your nomadic lifestyles and the establishment of sedentary ones. They're saying, in my own words, after you conquered the Flora Empire, you began conquering your fellow Planetmates of the Fauna Kingdom. Pumped up on the desperate desire to control, you captured and enslaved, and set the life cycles of these independent Earth citizens, that is, animals, to ends that would suit only yourselves. The ones you enslaved were ripped from the perfect design of nature. They were beaten into alien schizophrenic molds, which were the products of human minds, themselves the product of early trauma, that were fearful, obsessive about controlling, crazed, backwards thinking, and overstimulated. It was no longer enough to hunt Planetmates for food. You had the bright idea of owning and growing them, much as you'd done with the earthbound Planetmates of Flora. So you captured these Planetmates out of their perfect, divinely ordained lives in nature, and you kept, grew, raised, trained, ate their offspring, and often killed and ate them eventually, along with other ends of yours that you would dream up for them emanating out of your brains, which were overstimulated, and at this point, seeing much of the fully conscious universe, a live universe around you, as dead, including all matter, all the flora kingdom, all the fauna kingdom, and even your own kind who were not like you enough. For example, those from other tribes or cultures, even those who were different in your own tribe or culture. You were seeing them as being not fully alive, being subhuman, and even therefore putting them in a category where they could be killed, disposed of, used, enslaved, or whatever. But not just others from your own tribe or culture, even those in your own cultures who were just at a similar age or stage of life. For example, infants and children were predominantly seen as things. For a long time, even in my lifetime, they were saying that babies did not feel anything at birth. So babies were treated all kinds of ways without anesthetics and everything. And they said, oh, if they're crying, that doesn't mean anything. They're just having gas or they got great lungs. So they weren't seen as feeling beings, as conscious beings. And we can go through all that, it's the whole history of the cruelty to animals, cruelty to children. It's all about, cruelty to other races. It's all about not seeing things that are different from you as being conscious and alive like you are. So it's that huge ego. Anyway, relegating just about everything except you and a few close others to the status of being things allows you free reign in doing whatever you want with them, including killing, torturing, whatever you want. You don't think of them as having feelings. If it's in children, we're predominantly seen as things not fully living or feeling, and as resources to be exploited or discarded at will. All of this controlling required the final changeover of your lifestyle from nomadic to sedentary. You needed to be in place to grow food, at least for the growing harvesting season. So with the agrarian revolution, you needed to be sedentary. It didn't require you have to be there all year round, although probably most people were, and they could go north and south depending upon the season. But you needed to be sedentary the full year round in order to raise fauna, Planetmates, animals. The final phase in your change from nomadic to sedentary lifestyles would be the one major root cause in time of the apocalypse that we see looming before us all today. That's putting what they're saying in my words. And basically I'm saying that it's gradual, because of the birth pain and birth trauma, this gradual craziness, this gradual need to control, this gradual fear, therefore need to control, and this it keeps extending further and further out to where, and to control things, you have to take away their independent rights to choose. First, you're killing Planetmates, and you're killing each other, and you're deciding the life cycles of plants, deciding, you're doing horticulture, the agrarian revolution, and it just continues until you begin to see more and more things outside of yourself as being not you, not alive, not conscious, and therefore able to be manipulated, worthy of being manipulated and exploited. No moral conscience involved in doing whatever you want with them, and also if they express any pain or miss it as being, well, they're not really like you, they don't really feel pain. So this is what happened, and we see that even to this day, where for against another, one group to go to war against another, what they basically have to do is you have to cast them as being subhuman and non-feeling and not like us, and therefore not only expendable, but they should be eradicated. It's what the Germans did to the Jews. This is what everybody's done to the other side in every war. This is what we train our military to do. So, in summary, we conquered. We did horticulture. We controlled the life cycles of plants. We chose which ones cultivated, which ones would be called weeds and thrown away. Then we started capturing animals and making them virtual slaves, and at the end, eating them, or eating their offspring, as in the case of chickens. When we eat their eggs. I mean, you really think chickens come into the world to give us eggs? I mean, what were they doing for all those hundreds of thousands of years when we weren't around? This is just part of the reproductive cycle. Now, that's just one example. There's plenty of it. What we're pointing out here is that they're saying the biggest part of this was that this made us sedentary, and that being sedentary was the direst development of all, and it is directly leading to the apocalypse that we see on our doorstep today. Now, they're not saying how that it's directly leading to that, and I assume we'll get to that maybe further Prasad. So, enough said on the 12th Prasad. This is SillyMickel. Wow.